and welcome to Newsmakers on CHCH Podcast. I'm Louie Butko. Thank you for joining us, however you found us today. And every year, the Coalition for Music Education celebrates Music Monday with a cross-country sing-along to raise awareness for music education. The annual event celebrates the unifying power of music as thousands of Canadians join in singing and performing the Music Monday anthem at their schools and other community events. This year, the song selected was Hold On by the iconic Canadian rock band Triumph. And on today's show, very pleased to be joined by vocalist and guitarist Rik Emmett of Triumph. Thank you for coming in, sir.
Hey, you're welcome. It's my pleasure.
Thanks for, because this is really cool. Tell us how this came about.
There's a lady that's the executive director of the organization, Stacy St. Clair, and I got an email. Now, I think they probably contacted the band first, Triumph, you know, and that's more or less run by Gilmore, the drummer of the band. But one thing led to another. It was my song. You know, Hold On was my song. Anyway, so they said, hey, they're thinking of doing this. Do you want? And I went, absolutely. It's a great thing. And of course, on so many levels. I mean, I was a music educator for years, teaching at the college level. My eldest daughter is a high school music teacher. So, I mean, this was a no-brainer. And it was just a lovely thing that the song was going to get this, you know. And it's not just One Life. They get people to do arrangements of the song for choirs and bands and small ensembles and grade schools and high schools. And it's just amazing.
This song specifically, too. I mean, really, it puts you on the map, first number one. But beyond what it did for your career, what it meant for you to put that onto vinyl, like what is it about this song that hits?
Well, I mean, you know, and because of this circumstance, I've been doing a lot of talking about this lately. So the stories that I'm telling, one of them was that when I wrote the tune, it was like 1978, 79, and it was the disco era. And when I had the guys in the studio, and there was a thing about Triumph where it was kind of the other two guys had started the band, and I was like the junior partner, came in after the fact. But I was the one that was kind of going, look, I'm going to push the envelope here musically. So we're in the studio, and that particular album, I think it was our third, I was saying to the guys, you're going to have to let me spread my wings a little bit. And they were going, oh, Rick, you know, you're crazy, but we'll give it a shot. Yeah. And Hold On was a record where, like, there were things where we were in the studio, and I was saying to Gil, I just want you to give me 4 on the floor with your kick drum and play hi-hat, and I'm going to put disco stuff. And he was going, you're going to what? And I go, yeah, you just count the bars. I'm going to need about, you know, 36 of them, 40, and we'll edit it later. So he laid down this with a boom, boom, and I layered all these guitars on it, and the choruses had all big harmonies. And we had Elaine Overholt. That name might not mean anything to you, but Elaine ended up becoming later the vocal coach for the movie Chicago.
Wow.
You know, the musical? Yeah. She's an incredible sort of showbiz vocal coach kind of person. And she was a soprano, young woman at the time, in the studio, singing the high harmonies on the tune. So it was a giant production that the other guys in the band were going, what's happening? I'm not sure that this is a good idea, you know. But here we are, you know, 50 years later, and music teachers are going, hey, this is great.
Yeah, I mean, just think of that, like the kid who's picking up this sheet of music to learn it right now, right? There's, like you said, like your daughter who's in a high school music class. This is being distributed throughout for thousands of people, like you said, for different arrangements. What do you hope that person who's taking that sheet music, who's learning this for the first time, what are you hoping they're taking away by learning this?
Okay, so you know, part 2 of Rick writing his song for Triumph. Here I am in a band. It's called itself Triumph. They had the name picked before I got in it, and but that song in particular, I think I've figured this out. Like those people that are out there in the seats. This is a song about sort of motivation and inspiration and self-help long before there was any, you know, there was not a section in the bookstore for self-help. But I was going, I think this is that kind of a dynamic. And so now I think, okay, kids all across the country are going to get exposed to the idea of believing yourself, and you know, holding on to your dreams is not a bad thing. You know, having them in the first place is essential. You know, so those kinds of things, I go, this is great. And I got to admit, I think when I was a young man, wearing a younger man's clothes, as Billy Joel would say. I think I had an instinct about it. You know, I'm never sure that this kind of thing was ever going to happen.
Yeah.
But, you know, I kind of felt like if you're going to be a songwriter, try to make it be that a song is going to give people something that's more than just the, hey, aren't we having fun? Hey, isn't this a great party? Yeah.
Well, and that's what you said. You said positivity, motivation, and inspiration. That's what we were going to be a band about. And this song really did kick that off for you.
It did. It started the whole thing. And then, you know, album after album, I was able to keep writing to that kind of dynamic. So it was great. It really was fulfilling.
Yeah.
And now here's, you know, talk about fulfillment. Here we are, you know, decades later, and, you know, somebody sends me a clip and it's kids in a Chatham school, a choir, and they're singing my tune. You know, I'm going, wow, you know, this is so great. We're sending emails like, I re-recorded a version of the song in the Metalwork studio.
Yeah.
And they're getting people to do overdubs on it and play on it, and they're going to, eventually this is going to find its way to the public. But right now, the producer has roped in some friends of mine and a guy named Greg Wells, who's produced like Katy Perry and Adele, and like this guy is globally unbelievable producer-songwriter guy.
Yeah.
He's got a school out in Newfoundland that it's an old church that his dad had preached in, and he bought it, and then he turned it into the studio. And I said, and he renovated a church bell. And I said, okay, you got to put the church bell on the song.
Yeah.
So Greg goes, I'm in. Yeah, send me the stuff.
I feel like I read that in the Globe and Mail. Was that featured in the? I think that was a whole thing. Yeah, I remember reading about this.
Good.
Atlantic little studio, this old church that's been revitalized.
Yeah. And it you know.
And there's something about a church. There is something about the acoustics of a church that can
and
really.
You said coast to coast.
Yeah.
And at one point, I said to the people involved, I think I've got a connection for Newfoundland. Do you have any connections for BC?
Yeah.
Or Vancouver Island? We got to get coast to coast. And they said, no, coast to coast to coast.
Wow.
And I said, yeah, Inuvik. Yeah, let's get somebody.
Yeah.
Nunavut. Let's get it in. Yeah.
Because they've been the music for Coalition, the Coalition, excuse me. They've been doing this since 2005. They've gone through a lot of great songs. So again, just to be honored in the same category of getting to do this coast to coast, we're talking about the importance of music education.
We are.
You talked about it. You were a music educator yourself. It's in your blood, clearly, with what your daughter does. Where are we when it comes to music education? Can we be doing better? Is there things we can learn?
Of course we can, always, you know, and these kinds of folks, they need money, and they need money to do a lot of different things, to be able to lobby at government levels and you know, to fight the fights at boards of education where they're making less and less money available for music all the time. And it's very short-sighted because music is a therapeutic thing. It's a mind growth thing, so that if young kids are being exposed to it, if you're learning how to play in ensembles and you're learning how to cooperate, all of these kinds of things, it's as important as, you know, it's on some level. If I was a sports guy sitting here, people would say, oh no, you can't cut sports out of school programs, you know. So it's not frivolous.
Yeah.
Music education is not. It's essential.
You talked about that. I mean, being part of a team, being part of an ensemble, right? You are getting those lessons in life. What's a lesson in life that stands out to you through your education in music, whether it's teaching or?
I can tell you that, you know, I'd mentioned Hans Gasteiger and, you know, playing the violin in high school. Like when you're part of an orchestra and you're having to learn how to get along with everybody else. But one of the things you're learning is, how does a rehearsal work? Because here's this, you know, teacher that's getting hammered, and he's going like, oh no, this is, but he's got to try and organize this and get something. So years later, there I am rehearsing in Triumph, and I'm going, guys, let's take it from the top. Let's do it slow, and let's, you know, take it at a slower tempo. And so, and I'm going, this is just stuff that I'd picked up by being in music classes in school.
And to that point of rehearsal, you mentioned that because the amount of rehearsal, the amount of practicing, the amount of training and learning that goes into one 90-minute show. Yes. Like all that work for that little bit of performance, there's a lesson there too, right?
Exactly. Yes, for sure. And there's something else that I want to mention along those lines, and that is that when I was a kid and I've got a guitar, no matter what was happening in my life, I was able to go back to my bedroom and sit, and I had a friend that was waiting for me. I would get out of it what I put into it, but it was a thing that was like a security blanket, and eventually in my life, it's this talisman, it's this, iconic thing. It's the sort of, Galadriel that you're holding up and going, see this, I'm a rock star, there's something about music and instruments and all of that stuff. When you get to sing a song in public, you're getting to sort of inhabit the song and become the song. And it's a great thing for a kid that's feeling, left out of things, or a kid that hasn't got friends and stuff. The music gives them something that will then give them not just the world, the universe, because you can sing about the stars in the sky.
Well, and it's something you said there stood out to me. It's what you get what you put out.
Yeah.
You get what you put in. Excuse me.
Yep.
You can have some naturally God-given talent, know how to pick something up and play it, but if you're not going to put in the work. And I guess that comes into learning this too, right? This is to make this sound great. So come Monday, May 5th, when everybody is singing "Hold On," you gotta put in the work.
It's not going to be just Monday, May 5th. That's the launch.
That's the launch.
But they're going to have it for a couple of years, and so there's going to be all kinds of great things that follow along.
Yeah.
I know my daughter is doing a thing for her school in sort of the middle of May, and unfortunately, I'm going to be on a boat going down the Danube.
Okay.
So I'm going to miss some of that.
I did read something recently you had said where I think you had referenced you don't need the money and your ego doesn't need it, so you don't need to perform. When did that itch stop being scratched, or how do you satisfy that itch these days?
Well, you talked about all the time it takes before you actually get to the 90 minutes. The thing about the 90 minutes is it's part of a 24-hour cycle, and you're doing planes, trains, automobiles, and in this case, also boats. So, that's the thing that kind of grinds you down. I got to the point where I was going, I'm getting a little old for this, and I don't really need it anymore. So I'm not sure I want to go through the grind. And I don't need the money. So why? Now, having said that, I got a new thing out, 10 Telecaster Tales, a book and a record, and I'm going to play 2 gigs. 3 gigs. I'm doing one in Collingwood, and then I'm doing 2 at the Redwood Theatre in Toronto. So it's like, I book these things, I go, why am I doing this? Because I'm rehearsing now every day, and I'm going, well, yeah, you know what? I thought I'd left this behind. But I think there's an
itch still.
Yeah. I won't call it an addiction.
Okay.
But I will say that there's a kind of a need that throughout the course of my life, it wasn't just a question of making music for myself. It was a question of making music for myself that I could share, and then get a bunch of people go, yeah, Rick, we like you. Yeah, that's great. And you kind of...
You feed off that a little bit, right?
You do get addicted to that.
Yeah. No, well, listen, you can still put on a heck of a show. I got your book on my desk, laid on the line, your autobiography, which which came out. Yeah. That was recent. That was in the last year or so, right?
It was, yeah. So, the new one's 10 Telecaster Tales.
There we go. Yeah. There we go. Rick, I really appreciate you making the time today.
Thanks, Louie. It's been great.
Thank you. All right, Rik Emmett, my thanks to him. Music Monday. You can find all about it. We're going to put it up on our website and on this podcast page. So wherever you found the intro and the bio and all that stuff, look for that information as well. I want to thank Rik Emmett for coming in today. I want to thank Mike Corsten for directing today's show. And thank you for checking us out. And while you're here, like and subscribe to CHCH Podcast so you never miss an episode of this show or any of the other great shows we have for you. One more time, thank you for joining us. From all of us here at CHCH, I'm Louie Butko. Have a great day.